In every city, there are streets the streetlights forget. Places where the fog doesn't lift, it settles. Into the bones. Into the records. Into cases no one wants reopened. They told her it would be simple. Walk in. Walk out. Don't look back. But nothing in this world stays buried. And everyone looks back, eventually. Some crimes don't end when the sirens fade. They send out waves. Through testimony. Through memory. Through the people who survive them. They reverberate.
Help me.
This is one of those cases. This is reverberating noir.
There is a night, a cold November night in 1837, when a man steps out of a warehouse door and into a hail of gunfire. He is not a soldier, he is not a criminal, he is a minister, an editor, a man with ink on his hands and conviction in his chest. And the people who kill him do not do it in secret, they do it in the open. In front of witnesses, on the banks of the Mississippi River, his name was Elijah Parish Lovejoy, and the night he died changed America.
What strikes me every time I come back to this story, Adam, is that it doesn't begin with violence. It begins with words. And that's what makes it so unsettling. Because the violence was always a response to the words.
That's exactly right. And to understand why a mob of 100 men gathered outside a warehouse on the night of the 7th of November, 1837, we have to go back, way back, to a small town in Maine. Elijah Parish Lovejoy was born on the 9th of November, 1802, in Albion, Maine. His father was a congregational minister. His mother, Elizabeth, was a woman of deep faith. He was named after another minister, Elijah Parish, a family friend, a mentor to his father. So from the very first breath he drew, this man's life was shaped by principle.
And you can see that in his academic record. He graduates with honors from Waterville College, now Colby College, in 1826. Then Princeton Theological Seminary, 1832 to 33. This is not a man drifting through life. He is building towards something.
He gets ordained as a Presbyterian minister. And then, like so many ambitious men of that era, he looks west. He lands in St. Louis, Missouri, a slave state, a booming, restless city sitting right on the edge of two very different Americas. And he does something that will define the rest of his life. He picks up a pen.
He becomes editor of the St. Louis Observer. And here's something people often get wrong about. Lovejoy at this stage, he is not a radical abolitionist yet. His views are moderate. He supports colonization, the idea of gradually freeing enslaved people and resettling them in Africa. He is critical of slavery, yes, but he hasn't drawn his line in the sand. Not yet.
Then comes 1836. A black man named Francis McIntosh is seized by a mob in St. Louis. He is chained to a tree, and he is burned alive. In public.
And the courts do almost nothing. The judge presiding over the grand jury essentially tells the jurors that prosecuting the mob would be impractical. He calls the participants too numerous to identify, which was, frankly, a legal fiction designed to protect the perpetrators.
Lovejoy is horrified, and he writes about it. He names the horror for what it is. He condemns the mob, he condemns the courts, he condemns the silence, and in doing so, he crosses a line that St. Louis will never forgive.
From a psychological standpoint, this is a pivotal moment. Lovejoy doesn't just shift his editorial position, he transforms his identity. The McIntosh lynching doesn't just radicalize his politics, it makes the abstract personal. He has witnessed what systemic indifference to violence looks like, and he cannot unsee it.
His printing office is attacked. Once, twice, 3 times. The threats become relentless. And so, in 1836, he makes a decision. Pack up, cross the river, start over in Alton, Illinois, a free state. Surely he thinks things will be different there. They are not. Alton sits right on the Missouri border. Its roots run south. Its economy is tied to the slaveholding states, and many of its citizens have no interest whatsoever in an abolitionist editor stirring up trouble in their city.
But Lovejoy doesn't back down. He launches the Alton Observer. He helps found the Illinois Anti-Slavery Society. He keeps writing, boldly, publicly, without apology.
And the backlash is swift. On the 21st of August, 1837, a pro-slavery public meeting is held in Alton. Resolutions are passed. A committee is formed specifically, formally, to silence him.
And what does Lovejoy do? He shows up, he engages them face to face, he defends his right to publish. He tells them directly that while slavery is a legally protected institution, the press must remain free to discuss its moral dimensions. That it is his duty to labor for the repeal of unjust laws, and that the press is the most powerful instrument to do exactly that.
That took a particular kind of courage, Nina. The kind that doesn't come from not feeling fear. It comes from feeling it fully and speaking anyway.
Between July and September of 1837, pro-slavery mobs destroy 2 of his printing presses and throw them into the Mississippi River. 2 presses, gone. And he orders another one.
He orders another one. The 7th of November, 1837, a 4th printing press has arrived. It's being stored in a stone warehouse on the Alton riverfront owned by a man named W.S. Gilman. Lovejoy knows it will be targeted. He has no illusions about that. So he and roughly 20 armed supporters barricade themselves inside. They are going to protect this press, or they are going to die trying.
And here's what I want people to understand about that decision. This is not recklessness. This is a man who has already lost 3 presses, who has been driven out of 1 city, who has been threatened, attacked, and warned to be silent. At some point, retreating further is not caution, it's surrender.
That night, a mob gathers outside. Estimates put them at 50 to 100 people. They demand the press be handed over. Lovejoy's group refuses.
The mob begins throwing burning materials onto the roof. They are trying to set the warehouse on fire. Force the defenders out. It's a siege tactic. Crude, but effective.
And at some point in the darkness, in the chaos, in the smoke, Elijah Lovejoy steps outside. Maybe to stop the fire. Maybe to confront the arsonists directly. We don't know exactly what he was thinking in that moment. We only know what happened next. Shots ring out. He is hit 5 times. He dies almost instantly. Right there, on the warehouse doorstep. He is 34 years old.
The mob storms the building. They destroy the press, and they throw the pieces into the river, just as they had done before. Except this time, they had also killed a man.
The news travels fast. And the reaction across the north is seismic. Some people blame Lovejoy. They call him reckless. They say he provoked the violence. They say he should have backed down.
And that reaction, that impulse to find fault with the victim is itself deeply revealing. It tells you everything about how deeply normalized the suppression of abolitionist speech had become. When a man is murdered for printing a newspaper, and the first instinct of some is to ask what he did wrong, that is a society in profound moral crisis.
But many more are shaken to their core. Because this is no longer just about slavery. A man has been murdered for what he printed, for what he believed, and if that can happen to him, it can happen to anyone.
On the 15th of December, 1837, just 5 weeks after the murder, a massive public meeting is held at Faneuil Hall in Boston. The district attorney, James T. Austin, stands up and compares the Alton mob to the patriots of the Boston Tea Party.
The crowd is stunned. And then a young man named Wendell Phillips rises. He has not prepared a speech, he has nothing written down, but he speaks and the room goes absolutely still. He declares that Lovejoy died for the liberty of speech and the press. And in that moment, Wendell Phillips becomes one of the most powerful abolitionist voices in American history.
Former President John Quincy Adams, then serving in Congress, draws a direct line from Lovejoy's murder to the suppression of anti-slavery petitions on the floor of the House. He is saying explicitly that what happened in Alton was not an isolated act of mob violence. It was a symptom, a warning about what the slave power was willing to do to preserve itself.
Elijah Parish Lovejoy was the first prominent white abolitionist to be killed for the cause in the United States. His death didn't end the fight, it accelerated it. There is something that stays with me about this story. A man orders a printing press. A mob destroys it. He orders another one. They destroy that one too. And another. And another. And every time they throw that press into the river, they think they are ending something. But they are not ending it. They are making something. They are making a martyr. They are making a movement. They are making a symbol that will outlast every single one of them by centuries. The mob on the banks of the Mississippi in 1837 did not silence Elijah Parish Lovejoy. They gave him a voice that has never stopped speaking.
And that is the paradox of political violence, isn't it? It almost never achieves what it sets out to achieve. It radicalizes moderates, it galvanizes the undecided. It turns a regional editor into a national symbol. The people who pulled those triggers in Alton did more for the abolitionist cause in one night than Lovejoy might have done in a decade of editorials. History has a brutal irony to it, and it never lets the violent have the last word.
If this episode moved you, if you believe that stories like this one deserve to be told with care, with depth, and with the weight they carry, then Reverberating Noir is your home. Subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment. Tell us which part of this story hit hardest. We read every single one. This has been Reverberating Noir. I'm Adam Jones.
And I'm Nina Jovovich.
We'll see you in the dark.
And so the file closes. But the case doesn't. Not for the families. Not for the witnesses who still pause before answering questions. Not for a city that remembers, even when it pretends not to. The evidence sits somewhere in a box. The photographs fade. The names are spoken less often. But the echoes remain. If this story stayed with you, if you felt that silence at the end of each unanswered question, subscribe to the channel. Not for us. For the stories that never got a second look. For the voices that were cut short. For the cases that refuse to stay buried. Because the truth doesn't disappear. It waits.
And as long as the questions are still unanswered, the case isn't over. It's just waiting for someone to look again.
And here, it keeps reverberating.